right, guys, welcome back to another edition of the Addictively Speaking podcast. Tonight, I am lucky to have on my guest, Gabe Alessi, or Gabriel Hodder, as some of you might know him. He is a pro wrestler for 8 years, and he's wrestled for some of the big promotions in the industry, AEW and Ring of Honor. He's a 9-time tag team champion across independent circuits, which is an amazing feat. Absolutely unbelievable. Current wrestling trainer at Super Crazy Pro Wrestling, Skid Row Academy. And he's here to talk about his brother that he lost in 2019 to fentanyl poisoning. So this wasn't an intentional taking of fentanyl. This was an accidental. He did not know it was happening, which is an absolute tragedy. And he's also the co-founder of the Christian's Crew nonprofit organization. Gabe, it's a pleasure to have you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. This is this is a new experience for me doing a podcast as Gabe and not Gabriel Hodder, but it's definitely something I'm looking forward to being a little more open and a little more of my actual personality as opposed to my wrestling persona. But yeah, as you mentioned, I tragically lost my brother on March 13th, 2019. From what we believe, based off the police report and everything involved with it, we thought he was taking Xanax, and it ended up being laced with, in this case, a very lethal amount of fentanyl.
I mean, that's horrible. I mean, that's murder right there. Somebody sold your brother knowingly with that laced on it, which is absolutely horrible thing to have to go through.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, like it is like murder. Like my parents were interested in pursuing an investigation against where it could have come from to like press murder charges, but unfortunately we never got any leads, and we were never able to, trace it back to where it came from. But yeah, it's absolutely right. And like, that's kind of the message that we're looking to spend, because it's really unfortunate that every day, especially over here, like in America, it's really becoming an increasing problem that these people are accidentally overdosing or being poisoned by fentanyl.
Yeah. I mean, I've been away from America for about 5 years now, so I don't really know what's happening, but I have heard a lot about fentanyl and fentanyl being put onto all kind of different stuff, like weed and just in heroin and all kind of stuff that people are not knowing that it's in there, and it's causing people to die instantly because, it's lethal. It's lethal amounts of it, and it's such a high concentrate synthetic opioid that it just kills people instantly, which is crazy to think that that's out on the streets for people to buy, to get.
Yeah, and not knowing, like, it's scary. Yeah. So, hopefully, as you stated, the Christian Crew Foundation, which was started by me and my brother, one of our goals is to, raise awareness for fentanyl poisoning. My mom went to Washington this year for like a march about it. We try to be very active in promoting that message. And also, though, not just that, we help out the sober living community a lot. Almost all of the profits that we raise through our Christian Crew Foundation, we turn around and we give it back to like a sober living house. Some of the money we use to give in the name of my brother at a scholarship at our high school that me and him went to. So we're trying to do a lot, not just, raise awareness, but to also do some good work out in the community as well.
That's amazing. So before we get too deep in, like, tell us a little bit about your brother. He's an older, younger brother. Tell us about him. Tell us about him.
It was my older brother, Christian. He was 6 years older than me. He basically, up until I got to high school and really started getting out, I mean, he was like my best friend. We
Mm.
I came home from school. We went to the same schools always. Like, we came home from school every day. You know, we'd play PlayStation together. We'd watch sports together. We loved wrestling. He probably liked wrestling, you know, what I did. Like, I would have never been in any position to even know what wrestling was, like, if it wasn't for my brother. Like, that was mainly, like, that was probably our biggest, like, bond that we had. And, like, I tell people all the time, I probably, you know, the only reason I ever thought I could be a pro wrestler was because me and my brother used to wrestle on, you know, our parents' bed and jump off the counter. And I grew up doing that. So I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And we always talked about, like, oh, like, let's go be wrestlers. And, like, that was kind of my, like, inspiration to do it. But yeah, we grew up, you know, pretty fairly normal life. Went to Catholic school, both of us, all of our lives. Both of us worked for our father. He owned a roofing company.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so yeah, that was basically like his background.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, maybe, I'm trying to think of the year, maybe like 2015, 2016, I
Okay.
think when he kind of started to have some problems with drugs at the time.
Okay.
At this time, I was like 19 or 20, and I had just like started wrestling at this time. So I was really busy. Like, and I wasn't really aware of like what was going on all the time, you know? Like, I would hear sometimes him and my parents maybe arguing about stuff, you know, things like that. But I was kind of oblivious to it, like, because like to me it was just like, oh, like, you know, that's just my brother. Like, he would never get in huge trouble, but you know, he would party in high school and stuff like that, like all high school kids do. So I just kind of thought really nothing of it at the time. And then I guess maybe around 2017, they told me he was going to go away to rehab, and I think that was like kind of really like things like kind of clicked for me. Like,
Yeah.
like a bigger deal of like what I'm aware of, you know, because at the time, like I said, I'm a 20-year-old kid that up until this time has lived like this all-American, you know, perfect life. Like, I didn't know about
Yeah.
stuff. My brother had a friend when he was in high school that like overdosed from heroin, and like that was like earth shattering. Like, that shut down like the whole community. You know, 'cause, like stuff like that like just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, well, that was kind of really the thing for me. Like, wow, this is kind of like a big deal. I had a cousin who we were very close with, which, you know, growing up, we shared a shore house in Wildwood with all my cousins. So during the summer, we all kind of grew up more as brothers than cousins. And he
Mm-hmm.
was also like experiencing drugs. He went through rehab, but he, at this point now, and still to this day, he is still completely sober, probably over 10 years now. Like, and he is very active in like the recovery community. Like, he helps people. He's a sponsor for people. He still goes to all the meetings. He's like a very, very dedicated to like the sober lifestyle. And he kind of started to help my brother. And I think he kind of felt a little bit guilty, like when my brother eventually did pass after coming home and from rehab and everything, maybe feeling like he kind of let like him down. But I think that's just the thing that everybody kind of deals with, you know, like feeling like you could have maybe done more like to help that person.
I mean, yeah, but in that situation, I mean, how you would have never had a chance to know. How
Yeah,
are you
no,
gonna
yeah,
know?
you
How are you
know,
gonna know? I mean,
yeah,
it's a tough situation, and losing a family member has got to be probably one of the most difficult things you can go through. Brother, son, for your mom and dad. I mean, that's got to be quite difficult. So, in the aftermath of the poisoning, how did you guys cope with everything? Like, what was your reaction? Like, how did you guys
I
deal
mean
with it? How did you get through it?
that day is like it's still like so crazy to me. Probably about, at the time I was working at a gym. I was a personal trainer, and I was still living with my parents. My brother was still living with us at the time, but he was in the process of like starting to move out. He had like this long-term girlfriend, and then he was just home for whatever, like for a couple of days during that week. And so I was upstairs asleep, and at like 6:30 in the morning, like I hear my mom like calling for help. And that like woke me up, out of my sleep. And like I ran downstairs, and she was like, like your brother's in the bathroom. Like I don't know what's wrong with him. So like I went into the bathroom. I like threw her phone. I told her to call 911.
Yeah.
He was like laying on the bathroom floor. She was on the phone with the ambulance, and then I was doing CPR until the ambulance arrived. And then, like, obviously they took him to the hospital, but I stayed home. And my dad, like, left work to go to go meet them at the hospital, obviously. And my mom rode with them in the ambulance. And I stayed home, and it was like 7 o'clock in the morning, maybe. And like I just went upstairs, and I was just in my bedroom, like, not knowing what was going on. Like at that point in my life, and I still think that was like it's the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. Like it was like you really only see stuff like that like if you're like watching a movie. Like it's crazy when you're really in it. And like I was sitting there, and I guess I don't even know how much longer later, maybe an hour, maybe less. My mom called me, and she was just like, he died. And I was just like, what? Like, at that time, like, that didn't even seem like a possibility to me, Like, I watched the paramedics take them, and they were working on them. And, like, my girlfriend at the time was a nurse. I was texting her, and she was like, like, if they got there in time, like, it's good, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, that just wasn't even a possibility to me. Like, I remember just sitting there thinking, like, man, this is going to really be, like, his wake-up call that, like, he's probably going to have to go to rehab again. But, like, this is going to be it, like, after this. And so, like, when they called me and told me he died, it just really, like, I remember just, like, staring. Like, I don't even think I said anything. And, like, I called my best friend, like, second grade. And, like, I told him because, like, it was, like, brother, like, to him, too. Like, and I remember just talking on the phone with him. And then I went to the gym because I didn't know what else to do. And, like, at the time, I mean, that's just like my always has been like my coping mechanism, like just turn everything off and just go to the gym and just work out.
It's better that than something else. I mean, that was probably a better alternative. I mean, seriously, honestly, good for you for going to the gym. I mean, that probably helped your mind a bit.
I didn't even know like what else to do. Like it was just that was like the only thing like at that time that like made sense to me. Like I didn't want to be in the house, and like I didn't have to go. Like it was 7 o'clock in the morning or whatever. Like I called my work and I was like, hey, like I just had a family emergency. Like I'm not going to make it in today. And then that was the last time I ever heard from them because the gym went out of business the next day. So that was a crazy 24 hours. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, that was like unbelievable situation that happened. But yes, and then I just remember coming home from the gym and like all my family like came over and like I don't know, sometimes it just kind of doesn't like feel real,
Yeah, it's like a surreal moment in your mind, isn't it? It's kind of like it happened, but like, did it happen?
Like when I think about it, like I feel like I'm like watching it, like more than like living it. Like it's like an outer body experience.
Yeah, it is like when those things happen because your mind just doesn't know how to process the information that it's being given. Like you're just kind of like you're doing it, you're living it, and then you're like, what is actually happening right now? Yeah. That's crazy, man. That's a wild story. I mean, it's so
Yeah.
tragic as well. I mean, because, you know, you can't prepare to lose somebody that close to you like that. And
Yeah,
then I,
especially not, like, like I think it was like a Wednesday morning, like what a weird, like, it just shows how like it just happened at any time. Like,
yeah. Um, so how long after his passing did you guys decide that you were going to do something positive with his memory, with his legacy, because this is now, forever tied to him. And this is something that obviously you can do tons of good with, How long after did you guys decide to do that?
I feel like not long, like my mom was like so uh from like just being so like devastated, really like
Mm.
really motivated. Like she was just like, I want to like do whatever and like now just to help. And I think we started off. So if he passed in March, I think that following December was like the first like unofficial at the time, the first thing we ever did, and we adopted like a family for Christmas for that year in my brother's name. So we, we got a family, had like 4 or 5 kids that were underprivileged that needed it. The mom was sick, so like the dad wasn't working. It was like it was a really terrible situation for them, and like we just figured like if we can help, we should help, and like if we can help someone going through a bad time like we did, if we could help him be not as bad, like that kind of feels like that like the right thing to do. And like I
I mean,
always say, like myself, like even with our other things, like I think it's pretty cool that I'm in a position where I can help people. Like
mm,
that's something that like I'm always kind of grateful for. Like it's just like makes me feel good that I can have a positive like impact on this world, and I'm in a position in my life where I'm able to just help others in different ways. But like I said, like that first year we did the Christmas drive, so that's become an annual thing and it gets bigger every year. We try to do multiple families. This past Thanksgiving, we for the first time ever did a food drive, and we donated a whole Thanksgiving dinner to a sober living house of I believe 16 individuals. So it was a lot. That was really cool. That was very successful this year. And then coming up in April, which is my brother's birthday, is in April. We're having our second annual cornhole tournament, which
nice.
yeah, it's like and like that was as you were saying, like how we figured out like what did we want to help people, like when our biggest thing was we were kind of like what should we do, because it's a terrible situation, but we wanted something fun to remember like him by, like so like we thought
Yeah.
we were going to do golf because like my brother loved golf. He was like an avid golfer, but not everybody golfs. You can,
Yeah.
and it's hard. I'm not good at golf. Like, so we were
No.
thinking, like, well, what about cornhole? Like, it's a little more relaxed. More people will come out to it. So last year we did was our first cornhole tournament. It was very successful. All the money we raised from the cornhole tournament was used to like buy some of the food for the Thanksgiving drive. We set up a scholarship to the high school that me and my brother went to. So we pick a student every year that we donate money out of our account for that. So yeah, we're just like I said earlier, just really trying to make a difference in the community any way that we can.
Honestly, that's a beautiful way to honor your brother by doing all those great things. You know, and it shows the kind of people you are as a family as well. Is that you had a really terrible thing happen to you, but now you're turning it around and making a lot of great things happen for other people, which I think is amazing. It's hugely commendable, and I'm honored to have you on the platform to be able to share this kind of stuff, because I think people in addiction and people in recovery need to see that even though bad things happen, good things can happen as well. That you can make really good things, and you can, out of such a tragic loss, can come such good. And I think your brother would be really proud of you guys for doing those kind of things in his honor, his memory and his legacy. Um, so I think that's great. That's really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's like exactly like you said, like you can take a really horrible thing and just kind of make it not as bad, just kind of piece by piece, by doing a little good thing here, a little good thing here, that makes it not as bad.
So it seems like your mother is the driving force between, for the organization. Does your dad participate as well? Like, is it a big family thing?
Yeah, he helps out, but he's not as I would say maybe vocal or like outspoken about it, But he's there, he's there at all the fundraisers. He's doing everything. Last year for the fundraisers, he cooked all the hot dogs and sausage and peppers so that he's more behind the scenes.
Yeah. So your mom's the front runner. She's the vocal. She's the vocal piece. Yeah. And you as well. Now that you're sharing your story, so you're being more vocal and being more transparent as a person, outside of your wrestling persona. So I think that's really cool, because you have a persona, for pro wrestling, but this is more of who you are and what you do in your actual life outside of the ring.
Yeah, a little bit kind of behind it. A lot of it is kind of the driving force to why like I mentioned earlier, like me and my brother growing up, we always talked about, we'd play the video games and be like, this is going to be like us one day, like wrestling. And I went for it, but without them conversations, without watching wrestling every night and wrestling, I would have never have probably been where I am now and got to do whatever I've done. And like, I'm forever grateful to my brother for that. Like, I don't think I would have ever gotten into wrestling if not for him.
So where can people find Christian's Crew, and how can they help out? Is there a website? Is there social media that they can get linked up to? And I'll include all the links in the bios and stuff like that, so that if people are listening and they want to help out and donate or help Christian's Crew in any way, I'll leave those links there so you can get in touch.
So right now, we're getting very new to the social media, but we do have an Instagram account, which is Christians, and then it's 2 underscores, because Christians Crew. So Christians 2 underscores Crew on Instagram, and then we have a Facebook page as well, which is just Christians Crew. And I believe both of them have links to our Venmo accounts and our PayPal accounts. Every once in a while, we'll do like fundraisers. We'll ask for like donations that way. Like this year for my birthday, I asked for all donations to be sent to the Venmo account. Sometimes I'll sell like autographed pictures or T-shirts, and it's nonprofit. It all goes to like the account. So anything like that will all be posted up on our social medias.
Awesome. Since you are a pro wrestler, do you use your pro wrestling to keep your brother alive? Do you do anything special for him, like in the ring, or have you ever done any events, for him or anything like that?
I would love, which I'm still in the process of working out, to one day be able to do a charity wrestling show. That would be ideal.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that, and I do.
Yeah, I would love to. There's so much insurance and stuff you got to go through to run a show.
Oh yeah.
And we just got it set up as a nonprofit, and that was a whole ordeal. You got to go through a lot of paperwork. But yeah, ideally, I would like to do a charity show one day. As far as honoring my brother in the ring, I would say not so much, but I do. I have right here on my wrist.
Yep.
I got his birthday tattooed on my wrist, so I kind of always have him with me there.
That's cool.
I feel like that's like my little, way of kind of having him next to me.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's really cool. So what are your plans for the future for Christian's Crew? What are you looking to do with it in like the long term? Do you guys have long-term goals, or is there?
Right now, we are in the process of trying to work out going into schools and giving like presentations.
Yes.
Yeah, that's like our
Love
next
that.
goal that we would really love to get into. I think that that's something that is like very important and can be like very impactful. When I was in high school, do you know Chris Herron? He's
That
like
name
real
sounds
big.
really
He
familiar.
played like for the Celtics, and he was like he's real big in like he came and like talked to us, and I remember like that just being like the most powerful like thing I've ever been a part of. Like just looking at this guy and hearing his story and being able to feel it like coming off of him.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that's something that we'll eventually be able to get into and be able to inspire the same people. It's the same way like I was inspired by meeting him that day.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely, that's our big goal, is to start kind of going around to different schools and giving presentations.
Is it difficult to get involved in that? Is it difficult to get into the schools? I don't know how it is. I mean, I know there's a lot of strictness in schools, like as far as letting people in and that kind of stuff, like what it all entails.
I don't know how much my mom has reached out yet. I think it might be a case of like maybe not really having like any credentials, like just being like, hey, like we're gonna let you, but I don't know for sure. I do know she wants to reach out to like our high school to start.
That would be the start. Like, that's a good jump off point.
Yeah, and I know like she has like a PowerPoint sent to her from like she goes to meetings. Like I said, she does way more than me. She is like way above and beyond with all of this. She has meetings with like all these other mothers from around the country, and she's in all these groups and stuff. Like she has a PowerPoint like emailed her that she just has to like change some stuff to it, but that is like a full presentation. Like so like that's ready to go. I think we just kind of need to pick a time and a place, and I think she's a little nervous about the public speaking, so I might need to take over something.
You might need to throw on your pro wrestling gear and just get in the character and just cut the best promo of your life,
Yeah,
Listen here, boys, and just
let me tell you something.
Just hit him with a full Hogan. Listen here, brother. Hit him with it.
But yeah, that's actually a big picture for us.
Cool. I mean, I when I was in the States, I worked with a small group of people in recovery, and I did several speaking engagements at high schools. So it is possible to get into those places. I would suggest to look for high schools that do like a drug awareness day, or suggest to these high schools to start doing drug awareness days or drug information days, because that's when we were brought in. We were brought in because we were like my buddy was trying to get it to become a nonprofit, but I don't think he ever got there in the end, but he had this small group, and we went into the schools and we just basically all shared our stories. And it was like 5 or 6 of us. It was like a panel, and we'd all share, and then we take questions at the end. But I would suggest, just speaking to the schools and seeing if they do anything like that, any type of those programs. Just, if they have a drug awareness day, say, hey, we'd like to bring our nonprofit in to have, and just see how it goes from there. But definitely doable, man.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's just we gotta put a little more out there. We gotta put ourselves out there a little more, which is always hard when you're starting up something new, But definitely, like you said, definitely possible.
Absolutely. Do you have any other plans, like for yourself, to do more, be more active in like the recovery community, or like in this space, to like raise awareness in your brother's memory? Like, is that something that you're interested in doing
Yeah, I mean, I would love, like I said, I try to, on my wrestling page and through my wrestling stuff, I try to promote this Christian's Crew charity like as much as possible. Like I said, sometimes I'll put out some wrestling pictures with it all going to them. And I would love to be a part of, like I said, the public speaking and going to schools as well. Like, and I feel like it's kind of like a little bit of like an edge to it. Like, hey, like this pro wrestler is coming in to talk to us, Like that's like, oh,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely. Absolutely.
a little layered.
Yeah, but I mean, it gets people excited as well. And also you have a message to share,
Yeah.
which can be, sometimes people get excited about pro wrestling. Ooh. And then you can lay down,
exactly.
you can lay down this cool message, and to help these, help kids understand that it is dangerous out there, and don't trust your local drug dealer because he might not be
Yeah,
the nicest guy in the world. And he also might not know exactly what he has in his hand. And he might,
it's scary.
he might eventually kill you, and you'd have no idea, and he'd have no idea.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's just kind of like the story of like it happens, like it happens until like sometimes it's like I said, it doesn't feel real until it happens to directly impact you.
Yeah. As a family as a whole, how do you guys think you're doing? Now that it's been a couple years past, you guys have created Christian's Crew. How do you guys think you're doing with the healing process of the loss of your brother?
I think definitely good. It's always hard, especially like
Yeah.
Christmas just passed, so like that's always like kind of a bummer. Like, but like my mom's big thing was like, and like another reason why like she wanted to start this was like she wanted to keep his memory alive. She didn't want it to ever be a thing where like we don't talk about him, like we just like there's pictures of him all over the house. Like we talk about it, we tell stories, we laugh, we keep his memory alive. And this Christian's Crew Foundation is like, one of the best ways we thought about doing it. And I think that helps, like it makes you feel good seeing the good you can do, like as a family. It makes you feel better about everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, like the more you give, the more you'll get out of it, the more you do with it and the more you put into it, the more you'll get out of it. And I think it's important, the work that you guys are doing, and that you continue it. And I know it's, new to you guys, but yeah, just continue on that journey, because I mean, it's now like keeping your brother out there. It's keeping his name alive. It's his memory. Because these tragic things do happen suddenly and tragically, that you don't ever want that person to be forgotten. I think this is a great way. So definitely continue on. Is there anything that you wanna talk about before we wrap things up, or do you think you covered everything?
Yeah, I think I could just drop all the information again if that's cool.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
Christian's Crew on Instagram, 2 underscores. Christian's Crew on Facebook. If you would be interested in following me and my wrestling adventures, I am fear_Gabriel13 on Instagram. And yeah, just be on the lookout. Like I said, sometimes we do little random fundraisers, little pop-up events, and every support helps. When I tell you every single dollar is turned around and donated to somewhere else, it is all just everything that we get, we give back.
That's awesome, man. Listen, it's been great having you on. I appreciate you coming on. I'd love to be involved in some of the stuff you're doing, and I'd love to help you guys out in any way possible. So please stay in contact.
Now, so we can
Yeah.
My mom
Yeah,
already, she was like, I'm gonna follow him. So
yeah, put me in contact with your mom. I'd love to talk to her.
Absolutely.
I think it would be a great conversation to be had, because I think we need to share the side of the story as well. I mean, I've been sharing stories with people that are directly affected by drugs and alcohol, through their own recovery, but this is, family members and stuff. And I think your stories are important because it seems like your brother kept everything quite quiet for a long time about what he was doing.
Yeah.
And before you guys really caught on to it, which I think, in drugs and alcohol, that's mainly what people do. We keep it quiet enough that you don't kind of fly under the radar, and then something like this happens.
Like that other side of the story is important to like show other people, like if you are going through this, if you did lose a brother or sister, or a lot of people can kind of like crumble, and it like can be really hard on them, and it's hard, it's terrible, but there is like you can kind of turn that negative energy into a positive energy. Like there is a brighter day that we can all kind of work together towards.
Yeah,
because like I'm motivated. Like I took that bad situation that crushed me, killed me, and now that's my motivation to kind of go out and do like the good in the world.
Well, I think you're doing a lot of good, and I think the organization is it's a great organization that you guys have created in memory of your brother, and I think it's great that you're out there, and it's great that you're hopping on podcasts and you're doing the things that you need to be doing to get the message out there so that people hear it. So everybody should be aware that fentanyl is deadly, it is lethal, it is killing people left and right. You might not even know that you're taking it. So please, people, be aware that you might not even know you've ingested it, and it can kill you just like that. So please, be aware of what's going on in the world. Watch out for fentanyl. It's a poison, and it's killing people. So, I think that's how I usually do. I have 3 questions to close my episodes, and it's like 3 things that you need in your recovery, but you're not currently in recovery. You are. So what are 3 things that Gabriel needs in his life to keep him going? What are the 3 things that you need?
Definitely the gym is number 1.
Nice. Yep.
I think good friends is really important, a good support system to keep around. Yes. And what else? That's a tough question. Just I think extracurricular like activities to keep your mind so not just for me, I feel like speaking, but like for me, like mine is wrestling, but I feel like people need to have like outlets. I think having an outlet is very important. Something just to take your mind off of the bad stuff for a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. Those are some good ones. I like those. Well, man, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you for coming on.
I appreciate it.
No, not a problem. Like I said, I will stay in touch.
What time is it over? I said you were so accommodating. What time is it over there for you?
Oh, it's only 8:38, but yeah, I gotta be up early. I gotta be up early for work, but no, I'm happy to do this. I'm happy to get your message out there. That's, I'm happy to promote Christian's Crew. So if you're on the lookout, on the social media, look out for Christian's Crew. Find them, follow them, like, share, support. Show these guys some love. They're doing some great things. So thank you again, Gabriel, for coming on. And yeah, man, stay in touch. And I'd love to talk to your mom about things so we can have another a better conversation, more conversations, because they need to be had. So thank you so much. This has been the Addictively Speaking podcast. I'm your host, James, and we're out.